Now Isaac is dead. Esau and Jacob came together to bury their dad. So Jacob and his 12 sons settle in Hebron. Now, out of these 12 sons, Jacob has a favorite. His favorite son is Joseph. He's his favorite son because he's the son of his old age and also the firstborn of his favorite wife, Rachel, who died giving birth to Joseph's brother, Benjamin. Now, Jacob does not hide the fact that he loves Joseph more than all his sons. He even makes him a coat of many colors. The other brothers are jealous of Joseph. He's the pampered son. He's being treated differently. They feel that it's unfair. They have to do all the hard work. They go and tender the sheep while he just walks around in his coat of many colors. And of course, Jacob takes the birthright away from his firstborn Reuben and gives it to Joseph because Reuben slept with his father's concubine, and the children after Reuben are supposed to be Levi and Simeon. They're no better. They killed all those men in Shechem because of the rape of their sister Dinah, if you remember. So the birthright has passed from Reuben, Leah's son, to Joseph, Rachel's son, being the firstborn. So I don't know, maybe that's one of the reasons why the boys just hate Joseph. So anyway, Joseph is a cocky 17-year-old lad, not really smart. He has these dreams which he tells his brothers. He sees his sheaf standing upright and his brothers' 11 sheaves bowing down to his. He tells his brothers, they're not happy. God has given that family the gift of interpretation of dreams. All of them know how to interpret dreams in that home. The brothers say, what are you trying to say? Do you think you're going to rule over us? That makes them hate him the more. He has another dream where he sees the sun and the moon and 11 stars bowing down before him. He tells this dream to his dad and to his brothers. His dad rebukes him in the presence of his brothers, that he should stop that nonsense. What are you trying to say? Are you saying that me and your mom are going to bow down before you? That's nonsense talk. But that dream makes his brothers hate him even more. One day, the brothers go tending the sheep. The dad calls Joseph, his favorite son, to go and see what the brothers are doing, how they are faring, if everything is all right. So Joseph leaves Hebron and goes to Shechem, where the brothers were supposed to be tending the flock. If you remember, Shechem is where Levi and Simeon killed all the men because of Dinah. He goes to Shechem. He gets to Shechem, he's looking around, he can't find his brothers, he can't find the sheep. A man is suddenly there. He asks Joseph, who or what are you looking for? Joseph says, I'm looking for my brothers and the sheep. Have you seen them? The man says, yes. I heard them say they're going to Dothan. So if you go to Dothan, you'll find them. Joseph does not return home to his dad. He starts going to Dothan, which is miles away. So he's now left Hebron, supposed to go to Shechem. He's now on his way to Dothan, which is miles away. The brothers see Joseph coming from afar. They said, yes, now here comes that dreamer. Let us kill him and see what will become of his dreams. Because they felt that once they kill him, the dreams also will die. So he gets to them. They grab the boy. They take off his coat of many colors. But Reuben, the firstborn, says, no, do not let us kill him. Don't let his blood be on our hands. He's our brother. We all have the same father. Instead, just put him in this pit here and let's leave him there. He'll die himself, but we should not kill him. Because his thought, his aim was, once everybody goes, he will go back and take out the boy and deliver him to his dad. So they all agreed, and they put him in the pit. That pit was empty, there was no water inside, which was a good thing. If not, Joseph would have drowned. So he's in the pit. We don't know why. Reuben goes off. He leaves his other brothers. Maybe he went to look at the sheep or went to the toilet. We don't know. But while he was away, there's this Ishmaelite caravans that are on their way to Egypt. The brothers decide, why don't we just sell Joseph and make money from him? You know, that would be better. So they sold Joseph for 20 shekels to these traders who are on their way to Egypt. And that was how Joseph was sold. When Reuben gets back, he sees the boy is missing. He tears his clothes in anguish. What am I going to tell our dad? What am I going to say has happened to his favorite son? What have you guys done? And they said, don't worry about it. They kill a goat. They take his coat of many colors. They dip it in the blood. And they say, we'll take it to our dad and say that he has been torn to pieces. A wild animal has killed him. And that will be the end of Joseph and his dreams. So Joseph is taken to Egypt, where he's sold to the house of Potiphar. And then the book of Genesis suddenly goes into the family of Judah. Judah marries, and he has 3 sons, Onan, and Shelah. Marries a woman called Tamar. Dies. God kills him because he's very wicked, the Bible says. We don't know exactly what he did, but God kills And as you know, the levirate marriage, Judah gives Tamar to his next son, Onan. Onan knows that the first child he will have with Tamar will not be for him. That child is going to carry on name. You know, the levirate marriage, I talked about it in the book of Ruth. So if you watch my video on Ruth, you'll understand a bit much about the levirate marriage that was in Israel. So, but Onan doesn't want to have a child that will belong to his dead brother. So he pulls out, and God is displeased with what he did, and God kills Onan. So that's now 2 sons of Judah dead. Judah must have been wondering that, you know, is it what we did to Joseph? Why is this happening to me? The Bible doesn't say, but he must have been thinking, what is going on? How come my sons are being killed? He's now left with his last son, Shelah. Shelah now is supposed to marry Tamar to carry on the name of but Judah is a bit worried. Is Tamar jinxed? Is she cursed? How come she's marrying my sons and they're dying? Do I really want to give her my last born? So he tells Tamar, you go to your father's house and wait there. When Shelah is old enough, he will marry you. So basically, they're now engaged. So Tamar goes off to her parents' home. She's living there. But Judah does not want to give his son to Tamar. She hears that the boy is old enough now to be married, but Judah is not saying anything. So she decides to dress up as a prostitute. She goes by the wayside. She hears that her father-in-law is on his way to the sheep market or wherever. She deceives him. He lies with her. She gets pregnant. You know, so at the end, she has twins with Judah. You know, she has Perez and Zerah. And, you know, so later Judah finds out the deception, and he says that she's more honorable than him because he did not fulfill the contract with her. And, you know, we thank God that she did do that, because one of her twins, Perez, is actually in the genealogy of Jesus. So she did it. It was all in God's plan, because Jesus came from the line of Judah. If she hadn't done that, there wouldn't have been anyone. So Judah, God's plan for the tribe of Judah would have been thwarted. So what she did was good. Well, it was God's doing anyway. And then now we go back to Egypt. Joseph is in Egypt. He's in Potiphar's house. The Lord is with him. He's got favor from God. Potiphar can see that this guy is blessed. Anything he touches is blessed. Since he has been in his household is blessed. So he puts Joseph in charge of everything in his household. The only thing Potiphar troubles himself about is what he will eat. Everything, Joseph is in charge. He's in charge of the other slaves. He's in charge of the servants. He runs the household. Mrs. Potiphar has her eye on Joseph. She fancies the lad. He's young, he's strong, he's handsome. She wants him. Joseph refuses. He says, no, I cannot sin against God. My master has entrusted me to all his household. Why should I do this despicable thing to him? Not only will I offend him, I'll be offending God. I cannot do it. Day in, day out, she wears him down, but he refuses to give in. Says, nope, I'm not going to lie with you. One day he enters the house to do some certain tasks. She's alone. She grabs him. He flees, but he leaves his cloak behind. Mrs. Potiphar takes that cloak, calls all the servants. See what this Hebrew boy has done. He tried to rape me. When I screamed, he ran, but he left his cloak behind. She repeats this story to her husband, Potiphar, when he comes home. He believes his wife, obviously. Why shouldn't he? And Joseph finds himself in prison. So this is how Joseph goes from being the dad's favorite to being sold to now being in prison. When he's in prison, he finds favor with the head of the prisoners. God is with him. The Bible says God is with him. Though Joseph might not know it at the time, but because we've read the story, we know God is with him. He finds favor with the prison officials. They make him the head of all the prisoners. He became the supervisor. He's still in prison. He's not released, but he gets favor. He rules the place. He does everything. One day, he sees the butler and a baker. You know, the butler is also the cupbearer, sad. And he asks them, why are you sad? Why is your countenance down? What is troubling you guys? They both said they had dreams which nobody can interpret. That's why they are sad, because the Egyptians really believe in dreams. They know dreams come from their God, and they always want someone to interpret their dreams. Joseph said, dream interpretation belongs to God. Tell me your dream. So the butler, that's the cupbearer, tells him his dream, and Joseph interprets it to say that means in 3 days you are going to be released from prison and you go back to serving Pharaoh. Please, when you go back out, it will happen. Remember me. I'm in this prison through no fault of mine. I have not done anything wrong. Please remember me to Pharaoh. Tell him about this Hebrew boy you met in prison. Show me this favor. The butler says, okay. Now the baker hears the interpretation. He's happy. He goes, yeah, me next. This is my dream. Tell me, what does it mean? He tells his dream. Joseph says, sadly, your dream means in 3 days' time, you're going to be hanged. You're going to die. That's the interpretation of your dream. He doesn't hide it. He doesn't deceive him. He tells him as it is. It means you're going to die. I'm really sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Both dreams come to pass in 3 days. The butler, the cupbearer, is released. He's back in Pharaoh's service, serving Pharaoh. The baker is released. I bet he was screaming and saying, no, I don't want to get out of the prison. Just leave me here. No, I don't want to go. Just leave me here. He's released. He's hanged. He dies. However, the cupbearer gets on with his life. He forgets about Joseph. He does not remember to tell Pharaoh about the Hebrew boy. Life goes on as before. 2 full years, Joseph is still in prison, forgotten. What is he thinking? God, why is this happening to me? Why have you abandoned me? I haven't done anything wrong. Why is all these things happening to me? But God has not abandoned him, as we shall see as we continue. After 2 years, the Pharaoh has a dream. He has two dreams. He's troubled. He calls the magicians in the land to come and interpret the dream. Nobody knows the interpretation. He's deeply troubled. It's two dreams in one night. It must mean something. Then all of a sudden the cupbearer remembers, oh, I have done something wrong. I've done something really terrible. When I was in prison, there was this Hebrew lad. He could interpret dreams. He interpreted mine, it came to pass. He interpreted the one of the baker, it came to pass. Call Joseph. He will be able to interpret your dreams. Joseph is sent for post haste. He shaves, he baths, he changes his clothes. He's in prison clothes. He puts on his after shaving spray and everything. He appears before Pharaoh. He's now 30 years old. He was 17 when his brothers sold him. He's now 30. He appears before Pharaoh. Pharaoh says, I hear that you can interpret dreams. He said, interpretation of dreams belongs to God. Tell me your dreams. He tells him the dreams. Two dreams similar, about a fat cow, a slim cow swallowing fat cow, and the slim cow still being slim, and the sheaves, slim sheaves swallowing fat sheaves and still looking slim. And Joseph said both dreams mean the same thing. There's going to be 7 years of plenty in Egypt. There will be so much food, abundant of food. After that 7 years, there's going to be 7 years of famine. The famine is going to be grievous. It's going to be dire. It will seem as if there was never the 7 years of abundance. So what I would say is, during the 7 years of abundance, start storing food. Storing food, keeping food. There will be so much. People can't finish the food anyway. Start storing food so that during the 7 years of famine, there will be food in the land and people can eat. If not, there will be death. And this famine is going to be worldwide. We're talking of the world at the time, not the world we have today. Pharaoh says, wow, is there any man in this land who is as wise as Joseph? I'm going to put you in charge. He takes off his ring, gives it to him. He says, you are now second in command. The only thing I'm greater than you is I'm on the throne. Apart from that, everything in this nation is under your rule. Do as you seem fit. That was how Joseph, the prison boy, became prime minister in the land of Egypt. So he started storing the food. It was so much. They couldn't even count how much corn, how much wheat that they had in the storehouses. It was just too much. Pharaoh gave him a wife, one of the priest's daughter. He married, and then he had two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. And even the names he gave his sons is to say how God has made him forget his troubles, how God has made him settle. So he still had his strong belief in God. Despite all what he went through, he did not turn his back on God. He didn't say, this is it. You gave me these dreams. They were not from me, and I am being punished for the dreams you gave me. He still had his belief and his hold on God, Yahweh. So back in Hebron, there is no food in Canaan. Everywhere there is famine. Jacob has heard that there is food in Egypt, and people from all over the world are going to Egypt to buy food. He looks at his sons. Why are you looking at each other? Get down to Egypt and go and buy food for us before we die of hunger. The brothers are looking at each other because the last time they heard about Egypt, these caravans were going to Egypt. Joseph was taken to Egypt, and Daddy is saying we should go to Egypt. Their minds must have been racing. Egypt does not conjure up a good memory to them. Their dad says, go to Egypt and buy us food. So they all go, the 10 brothers without Benjamin, they go to Egypt. They get there. Joseph recognizes them immediately. They don't recognize him. He's dressing like an Egyptian. He speaks the Egyptian language. They don't know who he is. So he speaks to them through an interpreter. He says, "You are spies. What have you come to do in the land?" They say, "No, we are not spies, my lord." They all bow before him. Joseph remembers his dream. "These are my 10 brothers bowing before me, just as I saw in my dream." But he doesn't show them as like he knows who they are. He says, "You are spies." They said, "No, we are all brothers. We are 12, but one of our brothers is dead. The youngest one is at home with our dad. We came to buy food because we are starving. We are not spies." Joseph says, "You say lie. You are spies. You have come to spy out the land. You want to see how strong or how weak we are. Isn't that?" They said, "No, we are not spies. Our father Jacob is your servant. He's at home." They told all the story. Joseph says, "You are spies." It orders his men to go and put them in prison. So they were put in prison for 3 days. After 3 days, he brings them out. He said, "Okay, the only way you will convince me that you are not spies is if you go and bring that your baby brother. When I see him, then I will know you are telling me the truth. But one of you has to stay behind." So he puts Simeon in chains and says, "Simeon is going to stay until you return. When you come back with your baby brother, I will believe you. And if you come back and you don't bring him, you will never see my face, and that means you will not buy food. So you can go." So he sells the food to them. He orders his men to put their money back in their sacks. So they all leave except Simeon, who is now left behind. On the way home, one of them opens the sack to feed the camel. He sees his money in the sack. They all start saying, "Hey, God, God is punishing us. I'm sure it's because of what we did to Joseph. See, the money is back in the sack. How can this happen? We paid it." They were so terrified. All on the way home, they were not talking. They were silent, just thinking of, "It's Joseph's blood. It's Joseph's blood." They don't know what to do. They get home. They tell their dad everything that happened to them. How this Egyptian man was so harsh. How he said that we are spies. He said this. They talked and talked. When they all emptied out their sack, in each sack was their money back. They all said, "Gosh, what is all this? How can all our money be back in our sacks, even though we paid?" After a while, all the food finished. Their dad said, "Boys, you have to go back to Egypt and buy food. There is nothing. If not, we will die. The animals will all die." The lads say, "Dad, we cannot go unless we take Benjamin. He said we will not even see his face. He won't sell us the food unless we go back with Benjamin." "Why did you tell him you have a baby brother? What are you guys doing to me like this? Joseph is dead. I almost died. Simeon also is not here. The man has taken, and now you want to take Benjamin. If anything should happen to Benjamin, I will definitely go down to the grave with sadness and sorrow. These are the 2 children of my favorite wife, Rachel. One is gone, and you want to take the other one. You can't take him." The son say, "If we don't take Benjamin, we cannot go. He said he will not sell food to us. We will just be wasting our time. We can't go." Judah says, "I will be responsible for Benjamin. If anything happens to Benjamin, take my son. I will be personally responsible for him. But without Benjamin, we cannot go." So after a while, the dad says, "Okay, you can go. Take a lot of gifts. Take stuff, nuts and stuff, spices, and give it to the man as a gift from me. And if I lose my son, I lose my son. You should go." Because there was no choice really. It's either they all stayed and died, or they go and Joseph kills them. They had no choice. So they went. When they got to Egypt, Joseph recognized them. He could see Benjamin in front of them. He called his men. He said, "Go and prepare a feast. Prepare the place. I'm going to eat with those people today." So they prepared the feast, and then they called them in that Joseph wants to see them. The brothers are trembling. It's because of the money that was in our sack. It's because of the money. So immediately they entered the place where they called them to come and eat. They started talking. And when we were going, and when we got there, and we saw the money in our sack, and we don't know how we got there. The chief steward said, maybe your God blessed you with the money. You paid me your money and I got your money. That's not my money. So I don't know what you are talking about. So they sit down at the table with Joseph. They all bow before Joseph, including Benjamin. All 11 brothers bow before Joseph. He tells them to sit down, let's eat together. But the places are laid in age order. So from the first down to Benjamin, the youngest. The brothers look at each other amazed. How do they know who is first, who is second, who is third, up to who is 11th? How do they know? Benjamin was given the most portion of food. Joseph is testing to see if there's going to be any disgruntlement, if there's going to be any envy or jealousy, amongst the brothers to Benjamin. Then he knows that these guys have not changed, but they were all there together in harmony, one big family, happy family. He could not sense any rivalry. He could not sense any discontentment. They sit there, they chat, they're eating and everything, and then they buy the corn, the food, and they start going. But before they leave, Joseph tells one of his servants to put his best cup in Benjamin's sack, and then when they've gone, he should pursue after them and say, how can they do this? How can you steal our master's favorite cup? Don't you know he uses that cup for divination? After he has fed you and treated you kindly, how can you do this? So that is carried out. There's a man runs after them, catches up with them, says, one of you has stolen the cup. They say, no, nobody has stolen the cup. Check all our bags. Whoever has done it, take the person as a slave. Nobody has stolen your cup. How can we do this? You were so kind to us. You were so good to us. Why would we do that? So the man starts searching the sacks. He starts from the oldest. When he gets down to Benjamin, opens the sack. The cup is inside. All the brothers tear their clothes in grief. Alas, what are we going to tell our dad? Oh no, this is definitely judgment because of what we did to Joseph. Now it has caught up with us. The lads are crying, they're wailing. They all go back to Egypt. The servant says, no, you don't need to come back. Just Benjamin. They say, no. We all have to come back. They all get back there. They see Joseph. They're all on the floor. They are saying that, my Lord, we are guilty of this. We are really sorry. Please, you can't take Benjamin. Joseph says, you can all go. All I need is Benjamin. He is the thief. They say, no, you can't take Benjamin. As we told you, our dad is old. One of the sons is no more. The son of his favorite wife. And this is the only one he has. He almost died when Joseph, our brother, died. And now to take this one, he refused to let us bring the boy. But we said that you said without the boy, you will not sell us food. That's why he finally agreed. We cannot go back. We cannot go back. He will die. We will send him to his grave. We can't go back without Benjamin. Judah, the one who said that the brother should sell Joseph, said, take me instead as a slave and let Benjamin return. Joseph knew that time that yes, his brothers have changed. These are not the guys who did this terrible thing to him. He can't hold himself anymore. He sends all his slaves out of the palace. He tells them to excuse him. He now reveals his identity to his brothers. He said, it is me, Joseph. I am Joseph. The brothers look at each other. They are shaking. They are frightened. They are scared. They are speechless. He said, don't worry. Come near. He gives them a hug. He wails. Everybody hears him crying. He says, I am Joseph. God sent me ahead to save thousands, to save millions. If I hadn't come, people would have died. So what you did, it was actually in God's plan. Don't worry about it. How is my father? They said, he's fine, he's alive. You are Joseph. Say, yes, it is me. I am Joseph. So they all hug and everything. Joseph says, now go and bring my father, bring the whole family, everybody, come and stay in Egypt because there's still, I think, 2 more years of this great famine. So just come here, you'll have plenty. You live in Goshen, away from the Egyptians. So just say that you are shepherds, so you can live in Goshen and have your own land there. So he told them, go and bring my dad. Don't fight on the way. Don't fight. Just go and bring my dad. So the boys all get home and they tell Jacob, Joseph is alive. Joseph is alive. You won't believe it. He is in Egypt. He is that man, that Egyptian man. Jacob can't believe it. Are you sure? You mean Joseph is alive? They say, yes, he is alive. He is the governor, the prime minister of Egypt. Jacob praises the Lord. So my eyes will see Joseph before I die. He said, yeah, he said, see all the chariots, everything he sent, that we should all come to Egypt. Jacob is a bit worried because this is the promised land. Should he really go down to Egypt? But the Lord appears to him and says, you go. I will go with you. And I will be with you there until I now bring you back out, back into the land of Canaan. So don't worry about it. So they all pack all their stuff. There are about 70 of them, and they all head to Egypt. They get to Egypt. Joseph introduces his dad to Pharaoh. Pharaoh looks at Jacob, blesses Pharaoh. So it could be a blessing like, you kept my son safe. You're looking for your child for so many years. This is like 20 odd years, and you see him alive and well, and Pharaoh is treating him really good, made him a big man in the land. You want to bless the person, like, thank you, thank you, thank you. I've seen my son that I thought was dead. Jacob blesses him. Pharaoh asks, how old are you? Jacob said, I'm not that old. It's affliction, suffering that just made me look like this. I'm not that old. So they decide to settle in the land of Goshen. So that's where the Israelites, they are now in Egypt, in the land of Goshen. So the money runs out in Egypt, so people don't have money anymore to buy food. They go to Pharaoh. They say, we don't have money anymore. We've spent all our money on food. What should we do? He says, go to Joseph. He will sort it out. Joseph says, okay, bring your animals and we exchange your animals for food. So the people bring the animal. They can't feed their animals anyway. So when you bring your animal, you get food. Those animals now become Pharaoh's animals. So after a while, all the animals finished in the land. They didn't have any animals to exchange anymore for food. They go to Joseph. They say, we don't have any more animals. He says, okay, bring your land. So when you give us your land, you buy food. So they now started exchanging their land for food. After a while, even the land finished. They didn't have any land to exchange. Joseph says, okay. So now they sold themselves to Pharaoh. So they became slaves. And so Joseph gave them seeds and said, plant it on the land, and then 1/5 of your crop, your harvest, belongs to Pharaoh. So this way, Pharaoh became very wealthy through Joseph's schemes, and then Jacob, is now time for him to die. He'd lived there for 17 odd years or so. So he did have a really good time with Joseph. He blesses Joseph's 2 children, Manasseh and Ephraim, but he crosses his hand when he's blessing them. He puts his right hand on the youngest, Ephraim, and the left hand on Manasseh, and Joseph is not pleased. That no, it should be the other way around, because the right hand is usually blessed the firstborn. And Jacob says, yes, I know, but they will both be great, but the youngest, Ephraim, will be greater than Manasseh. And he said he has now adopted these 2 boys from Joseph. Any other child that Joseph has will be for him, but these kids are his. So he blesses both of them, and he dies. He tells them not to bury him in Egypt. He dies, and they take him to the cave at Machpelah, the one Abraham bought when Sarah died. And it's the patriarch's cave. That's where they're all buried, at Hebron. So he's buried there, and they mourned and did the burial, the funeral for so many days, and they came back to Egypt. And then it was now time for Joseph. Joseph also is now time for him to die, and he gets them all to swear that they will not leave him in Egypt. They should take his bones when they are going to Canaan, the promised land. It says they should take his bones with them. They should not leave him in Egypt. And they all swear. But before he dies, one bit that I left out, his brothers were worried after their dad died that maybe now Joseph is going to be wicked to them. He's going to be horrible to them because of what they did. So they went to him and said, our dad said, you should be nice to us. You should forget the past. Forget what we did. And Joseph said, am I in the place of God? Why would that be wicked to you? What you did was all in God's plan. You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. He sent me ahead to save thousands alive. So don't worry about it. Then after that, then he died. And so that's the end of Genesis. So you see, if you are going through any situation in life which you can't understand, be rest assured, if you are a true child of God, God is in control. He is in control of it. You might think, has God abandoned me? Has he left me? Why am I going through all of this? He hasn't abandoned you. I am a living testimony. He has not abandoned you. He has greater, bigger things planned for you. That's why you are going through that. You just stick in it. Do not turn your back on God. Just keep the faith, and you will come out shining. You will come out on top. You'll be amazed. I have a testimony about this. I thought God had abandoned me last year. I was going through so much. But when I saw later where God was taking me to, I praised his name. I said, thank you, Lord. You were there all along. All this was your plan. You just used these people to push me into my destiny. So I thank you all for watching. If you enjoy my teaching, consider subscribing. I'll see you in Exodus. God bless.